And I'm just going to welcome Abby Godina from the Rhode Island Working Families. Now that we are energized to do something, Abby's going to help us think about what campaigns are already going on here locally to get involved with.
I'm not really sure how to feel after that overview Heidi gave us, but one thing you touched on I want to echo, and something that President Trump mentioned on the campaign trail, was this idea of states' rights. And we do have the right and the power to enact a lot of things that we want to see happen here in Rhode Island, things that are really tangible and can happen this year. One of those things is earned sick time, but there's lots of other things that we could do. So don't be too discouraged. Our state has a lot of power to change things. So like Rachel said, I'm Abby. I'm the state organizer for the Rhode Island Working Families. We're a new organization in Rhode Island. We recruit and support people to run for office, but then we back that up with important policy work. We've been leading the fight on earned sick days with Economic Progress Institute and many other organizations in Rhode Island. And I do want to take a second to thank one of our sponsors in the House, Erin Ravenberg, representative right here, and in the Senate, Senator Mary Ellen Goodwin. Both of them do a great deal to help us build a campaign with a lot of momentum to see that this really happens. So I just want to talk a little bit about the bill. I'll talk about some of the challenges we're facing and go over quickly how you guys can help us. Right now, everybody gets sick, but not everybody can take a sick day. Doug said earlier, 170,000 people can't take a sick day when their family member is sick. Translates into about 41% of people in the private sector can't take a day off when they're sick. So that's a real big problem. The industries that most often don't offer these benefits to frontline employees tend to be direct care, healthcare, restaurants, hospitality. And these are industries that really do require a healthy workforce because they're working directly in the public. So not only do they need to be healthy to serve their clients and to serve the customers, they need to be healthy so that the rest of us don't get sick. These industries are also industries dominated by women, you would imagine, and women tend to have the share of caregiving responsibilities at home, whether it's children or an aging parent or anyone else that's really close to them. We often know these people are the very people who can't afford to lose wages from being sick. So we have studies that show a family of four, if the main earner of the family were to miss 3.5 days of work, that would equal the grocery bill for the month. So these are really big impacts on people's lives that I don't think we want to see. So our bill would allow people to earn up to 7 days of sick time. So this is an accrual rate that would apply whether you're part-time or full-time and would touch every employee in Rhode Island. It allows for people to take time off for themselves, for their family members, or to escape an instance of domestic violence. It allows you to take 3 days off before your employer can request a doctor's note, and I think this is really important, especially for people who are in situations of domestic violence, not needing to disclose their personal matters to their employer, but also if you just have a head cold or the stomach bug and it's going to pass in a day, you don't really need to see your doctor. You don't want unnecessary co-pays of something you could have taken care of with some rest. Things are looking really good on the campaign. We recently did a poll that shows over 80% of Rhode Islanders support earned sick time. Something we don't really talk about in our blue state is how Republicans feel, and actually over 70% of Republicans also support this bill. So it's not a partisan bill, it's broadly supported, and people, we need this. This is just really common sense. It requires that it only requires two tracking methods for business. One is what they already do, which is track hours worked. So in addition to hours worked, they just have to track how much time somebody uses. So maybe reading some op-eds in the paper, the burden we've tried to write it in a way that would be really flexible. And if there are businesses that are offering paid time off or flex time that meet the standards of our bill, it counts. So we understand that businesses need different things to accommodate their workforce. It's just really important to note that this is about creating a minimum standard for every worker so that we have these benefits and businesses can compete on other merits other than how little they can give their workforce. So I think that's an important fact to remember as we're battling this out. So to talk about the challenges. We're getting pushback, particularly on our definition of family. We have a broad definition of family. that is supported by legal precedent, but we're never going to get pushed back on. It's a blood or affinity. So we know that people have untraditional family situations, or they might be caring for a neighbor they've become close to over the time, or whatever the situation may be, and it's important that people can decide who it is that they should be taking care of, and it's not the legislator or their boss saying, no, you can't take the day off for somebody not close to you. The other thing is, people say that workers abuse this policy. We haven't seen that to be true in the states that have passed this so far. Abuse is not a big problem. People think of sick days as insurance, so they want to have it banked up. So in case they get sick, they have the cushion to fall back on. We also wrote the bill so that the time rolls over, so at the end of the year you're not incentivized to take time off for holidays. People are really banking that time. Other challenges we are facing is mostly on the 7 days, but as anyone knows, especially if you're in a family, if one child's sick, it's not too long before the next one's sick, and pretty soon 7 days adds up real fast. So these are some of the challenges we're thinking on and really working with people to find stories and share their stories with their legislators to counter some of the arguments we're hearing at the State House. So things you can do to help. There are postcards on every table. They look like this. There's a stack of them. If you want to just write a quick note and your address on them and leave them on the table, we will mail them out for you. It's easy as that. I think maybe people have pens out there. We are also doing a good amount of door knocking and phone banking, which maybe isn't the most fun for everybody, but it is a good experience to get out in your neighborhood, talk to people around you about this bill. Like I said, 80% of people support it, so most often people are happy to sign a card or call their legislator. You can find out when we're doing that at riearnsickdays.org. And the last thing I would say would be really helpful is we're trying to do letters to the editor in the small papers around the state. So if you're feeling particularly fired up about people needing this benefit and it being a public health issue and an issue for working families, we can help you draft something and submit it. We've had some really good ones that we planned and some really good ones that weren't expected by people who just had great stories about not having sick time. So, and if you ever thought legislators don't read this, they do, and you can put them on their desks if you have any doubts. So it's really helpful. I'll be around if you have more questions about this, and I appreciate the time.
Thank you.